They say love is beautiful, that it heals, that it conquers all. But what happens when love is the very thing that breaks you? When two hearts, once beating in perfect rhythm, are torn apart by a choice no one should ever have to make? This is not just a story about loss. It's a story about what remains when the laughter fades, when the promises fall silent, and when love must walk through fire to find itself again. This is the weight of love. Many say love begins like a song, soft, easy, and beautiful. For Jane and Thomas Kane, it began in the echo of high school laughter, in the glow of summer afternoons when love was simple and forever felt close enough to touch. Thomas was quiet, grounded. Jane was full of fire, the kind of girl who could light up a room with her smile and silence a storm with a glance. Together, they were whole. Years later, they stood beneath a white arch wrapped in flowers, hands trembling as they said "I do." The world cheered. Life opened its arms. For a while, everything was perfect. A small apartment filled with secondhand furniture, lazy Sunday mornings, burnt pancakes, and endless laughter. The kind of joy that made struggle look like a phase that would soon pass. But time has a way of testing love's foundation. 7 years. That is how long they tried. 7 years of shattered hopes and quiet prayers. Jane's eyes, once full of light, began to dim under the weight of every failed test, every appointment that ended in heartbreak. Thomas held her, always whispering, "It'll happen, Jane. One day, it will." But hope became an echo in their home. The sound of laughter was replaced by the hum of a fridge, the shuffle of papers, the silence between two people who used to talk about everything. Jane would look at her friends' baby pictures online and whisper, "Why not us, Thomas?" And he, already drowning, could only say, "Maybe it's not time yet." The distance between them grew, not measured in miles, but in unsaid words. Their hearts lived in the same house, but no longer in the same world. Then one morning, the miracle came. A faint pink line, so small, so powerful it could wake the deadest love. Jane fell to her knees, laughing and crying all at once. When Thomas saw the test in her hand, he froze, then smiled wider than he had in years. "We did it," he whispered, pulling her close. "We finally did it." From that day, their house came alive again. He came home early, she sang in the kitchen again. They built a nursery, painted in yellow and white, each brushstroke a promise. And for the first time in years, they believed. Until the night that belief was tested. The air outside was thick with rain, the streets a blur of lights as Thomas sped through the night. Jane's screams filled the car. The hospital smelled of panic and prayers. Doctors rushed her away while he stood helplessly in the hallway, clutching the necklace she dropped, a small silver heart that read hope. Then came the doctor. Face pale. Voice steady. "Mr. Kane, we can only save one." Thomas's world shattered into noise. The choice tore through his soul, the woman he loved, or the child they'd waited for their whole lives. He whispered through trembling lips, save my wife." And with those 4 words, a life ended before it began. When Jane woke, the room was silent. Thomas sat beside her, holding her hand. She smiled weakly. "Where is the baby?" He could not speak. Just tears, the kind that tell a story words never can. When she realized, she turned away. Her voice, once gentle, cracked. "You chose me?" Thomas reached for her hand. "Jane, I know," she screamed, pulling away. "You killed her, Thomas. You killed our baby." His chest caved under the weight of her words, but he didn't fight back. He couldn't. Guilt had already built its home in him. Days passed. Nights blurred. Jane's grief turned to anger, the kind that scorches everything it touches. "You never wanted her. never wanted children. You only wanted me." Thomas sat in silence, his eyes empty, his voice gone. He loved her too much to defend himself. But silence can only hold so much. One evening, she found him in the living room, staring at their daughter's ultrasound picture. "Don't pretend you care," she said coldly. "You let her die." Something inside him, the last fragile piece of his heart, snapped. He stood up, voice trembling, breath heavy. "You think this is easy for me? You think I sleep at night, Jane?" She stared, startled. He took a step closer, tears glistening. "Don't you think I'm hurting too?" The words broke from his soul like thunder. "Every night, I see her in my dreams. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of your silence. You're not the only one who lost someone, Jane. I lost her too. And I'm losing you." For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The fire in her eyes dimmed, replaced by the truth she refused to see. His pain was as deep as hers, only quieter. She sank to the floor, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to stop hating you." Thomas knelt beside her, his voice barely a whisper. "Then let's stop together." That night, they held each other for the first time since the hospital. No promises, no words, just two broken hearts learning how to beat again. Healing came slowly. Some days, they laughed. Some days, they cried. But they stayed, and that made all the difference. They planted a tree in the backyard, under the stars. Jane placed a small white stone beneath it with one word carved into it, hope. Years passed. The house grew warm again. Thomas would still pause at the door sometimes, watching Jane water the tree, whispering softly to the daughter they never met. Then one morning, life surprised them again. Jane sat on the same bathroom floor, trembling hands covering her mouth, tears streaming down her face. When Thomas saw her, he froze. "Jane." She nodded, laughing through tears. "Two heartbeats, Thomas. Not one, two." He fell to his knees, wrapping his arms around her, both of them crying and laughing in disbelief. "Maybe love doesn't forget," he whispered. She smiled, touching his face. "No, Thomas. It just learns to forgive." And as sunlight poured through their window, the weight they'd carried for so long finally lifted, not because it was gone, but because they'd learned to carry it together. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Naratide UG, where every story reminds us that love doesn't end in heartbreak. Sometimes, it's just waiting to be reborn.